Welcome to Arts District. I'm your host, Carrie Saldo. Pop art. The phrase might call to mind Andy Warhol's Campbell soup can paintings, the comic book-inspired Benday dots of Lichtenstein, or the larger-than-life sculptures of Clas Oldenburg. Primarily created from the mid-1950s through the 1970s, they're among the enduring and iconic works that continue to shape the art world today. An exhibit at the Arvada Center for the Arts and Humanities showcases contemporary Colorado artists working in that vein through sculpture, paintings, and installation art. We visited the gallery to bring you the story of the exhibit titled RePopulated.
My agenda is visual impact.
My work relies on viewers' fluency in popular culture.
I accept the idea of crazy notions. I need a lot of play, and that's how I learned about the world.
Colin Parson. I'm the exhibition manager and curator at the Arvada Center. We're pushing a variety. It's just not limited to white male popular culture. It is representing the American culture. As you enter the gallery, you see the history and learn a little about the movement itself and some of the founders. We call them the pioneers of the pop movement. And then as you exit that space, that's where you see the regional contemporary artists. It gives you a perspective on what's going on now, what's going on then, what's similar, different. I was very conscious of trying to make selections that mimic some of those pioneers, but they're still their own art and say something quite different after 20, 30 years, 40 years after. This is really a nice dialogue between the artists and the cultures that they live in, the cultures that they came from.
My name's Chinua, and I'm an artist. Lichtenstein is a huge inspiration to me. His work with Benday dots figures largely in my work. He was doing a lot of that work by hand. We now have the technology and resources to use Photoshop to do a lot of that work, and I do rely a lot on Photoshop as a tool to create my work. I'm really interested in florography, which is the Victorian-era convention using the language of flowers to send sort of coded or symbolic messages or meanings. When I've been using different subject matter from popular culture, I have been mostly focusing on moments of spectacle that have used flowers somewhere in the imagery, because I'm really interested in the simultaneous invisibility and visibility of those flowers and how they get forgotten or looked over in those high spectacle moments. We've sort of lost that Victorian era fluency in the language of flowers, and I'm really interested in that sort of forgotten aspect of that imagery.
Sean OMalley, no title, just Sean. Yeah, I get ideas from all over the place. It seems like I can't get away from ideas, and I quite accept the idea of crazy notions.
Would you classify yourself as specifically a pop artist?
Well, it depends on how you define that term.
How do you define it?
You know, pop means popular culture. That's short for popular culture. So you can grab and reference anything and respond to it, and you're immersed in pop.
Your work automatically slows me down. It automatically helps me to focus.
Yes.
Is that an intent of yours?
It is a practical intent. I use recognizable things, but I reorganize them so that they can't quite be resolved in the mind. That's really very useful to slow down and ponder the things that aren't apparent, which is more of what I'm interested in. I'm speaking the language we all know how to speak, but playing with them a little bit.
When I think about American pop art, I immediately think about oil on canvas, paintings. You're working primarily in sculpture. How did you come to that form?
Sculpture is something that I've always been drawn to. Displacing space is something I really enjoy doing. It complicates our world a little bit. It modifies the space I live in, so I have to accommodate that.
Hi, my name is Phil Bender, and I am an artist. Picasso once traded an Oldsmobile convertible for a painting, so I'm hoping something will happen like that someday. Of course, I'm no Picasso, but...
I think you are in a genre all your own, Mr. Bender.
Yeah.
Pop art, was it something you were automatically drawn to? How did you become a part of that genre?
Probably when I was 7, I was being influenced by license plates on people's garages, because I really liked them. Wheaties made them for the kids, smaller ones. we stick on the back of our bicycle seat. So that's a real early influence as far as repetition. And then when I did see pop art in the early 60s in a magazine, it immediately caught my attention. Shopping is a big part of my process.
Are you looking for a specific something out there?
It's chance encounters at thrift stores and estate sales. Sometimes I'll find a collection that I can use right away. Others, they take one at a time. It takes time over time to find them all.
An object has a certain function in society, and then it's given new life as you shape and form it in the way that you do. Is that an intent of yours to kind of give the object new meaning?
Sometimes I feel guilty about taking them away from their job, like shovels. I have a lot of shovels in my collection, and ladders. Depending on what happens when I'm gone and my estate sale, if they go back into circulation and are used as shovels and hammers and ladders again, or do they become objects of art and are never used for what their purpose was made for?
Sometimes art looks like a solution to something, but oftentimes it's a question.
Art, it makes the artist happy. That's all I care about.
I guess what it really does for me is invokes creativity in everyday life.
And that's what makes pop culture and pop art amazing, is it's trying to represent everything.
Thank you.
Sure. Can I have that as a souvenir?
Yeah, sure can. Go ahead. I hope to see it in a piece someday very soon.
I don't think so. Oh.